in modern-day London, while working on the demolition of an old Victorian building in Whitechapel. I stumbled upon something extraordinary. Buried within the crumbling walls of the derelict structure was an old diary, wrapped meticulously in oilcloth. The diary, remarkably well preserved despite the passage of time, caught my eye immediately. I couldn't help but feel a surge of curiosity about the secrets it might hold. Instead of handing it over to my bosses, I decided to keep this intriguing artifact for myself. After a long day of hard labor, I took the diary home, eager to uncover the stories hidden within its pages. Settling into my favorite chair, I carefully unwrapped the oilcloth and opened the diary, ready to dive into its mysterious contents. As I opened the diary, the faint smell of aged paper filled the air. The handwriting, elegant and flowing, seemed to beckon me into a different time.
I always believed that the greatest horror lay hidden in the shadows of our past, where truth mingles with legend. My name is Eliza, and what I'm about to share is a story that might make you question its authenticity. But that's precisely the point. This is both a cautionary tale and an invitation to delve deeper into the secrets of reality. It all began in the alleys of Whitechapel, where the notorious Jack the Ripper prowled. Among those foggy streets, I met a man who seemed charming and kind, but who revealed himself to be the monster of nightmares. My diary tells the tale of my escape, my terror, and the dark legacy that haunts me still. At first, he was a gentleman, his manners impeccable. We met at a local pub, where his eyes twinkled with charm. He called himself John, and I, being naive, believed every sweet word he said. Our encounters were filled with laughter and stolen kisses in dark corners. Yet, as days turned to nights, glimpses of his true nature began to surface. One evening, as we walked down a deserted alley, his grip on my arm tightened painfully. He spoke of dark desires and twisted fantasies, his voice low and menacing. The charming facade cracked, revealing the monster within. My heart pounded with a terror I had never known. Was this the man who had been terrorizing the streets of Whitechapel, the infamous Jack the Ripper? My descent into fear and madness began soon after. John, or Jack, as I now knew him, became increasingly controlling and sadistic. He delighted in my terror, keeping macabre trophies from his victims and leaving cryptic messages around my home. I could never tell if I was safe, or if he was lurking just outside my door. One night, I found a bloody handkerchief in my bed. The sight of it sent me into a frenzy, tearing apart my room, searching for more signs of his presence. The walls seemed to close in, the air thick with the scent of decay. My sanity hung by a thread as I tried to escape his grasp. Near escapes became a nightly terror, his shadow always one step behind me, his whispers in my ear. My diary entries grew fragmented and unreliable. I wrote of hallucinations and memory gaps, questioning what was real. I found myself in strange places with no recollection of how I got there. Once, I woke up in a dark cellar, surrounded by the echoes of Jack's laughter. My mind was unraveling, reality and nightmare merging into one. As I delved deeper into Jack's psyche, I began to believe he was possessed by an ancient evil. His eyes would glow with an unholy light during his most violent rages. He spoke of dark rituals and sacrifices to an entity that fed on fear and suffering. Strange occurrences plagued my every step. Flickering shadows, cold drafts in closed rooms, and whispers in a language I did not understand. With every ounce of courage I could muster, I planned my escape. The night was dark and stormy, perfect for slipping away unnoticed. Jack's presence was overwhelming, his footsteps echoing in my mind. I ran through the streets of Whitechapel, the rain masking my sobs and the pounding of my heart. I reached a police station, breathless and hysterical, but by then, Jack had vanished into the night. After I went to the police, the reality of the situation began to unravel before my eyes. I discovered a harrowing conspiracy designed to protect Jack's identity, involving some of the most powerful figures of the time. These individuals, desperate to maintain their status and control, went to unimaginable lengths to ensure Jack's reign of terror remained unsolved. Witnesses who dared to speak out were met with threats and violence. Some disappeared without a trace, their voices forever silenced by the men who feared the truth. Evidence that could have exposed Jack was meticulously destroyed, piece by piece. Important documents vanished from police files, and critical testimonies were recanted under duress. The air of fear was palpable, a chilling reminder of the lengths to which these men would go to maintain their facade of innocence and control. Despite the immense danger, I knew that exposing this conspiracy was the only way to end the cycle of fear and bring justice to the victims. With every word I write, I cling to the hope that the truth will one day see the light of day. It is my desperate attempt to shed light on the darkness that has plagued our lives for too long. I can only pray that my words will survive the threats and the silencing, to finally bring an end to Jack's reign of terror and the powerful men who enabled it.
My obsession with the diary grew, consuming my thoughts day and night. It wasn't long before I started experiencing the same paranoia and fear that Eliza had described so vividly. I was drawn to dark places, compelled to explore forgotten corners of the city that seemed to call out to me. Shadows moved in the periphery of my vision, and whispers floated on the edge of my hearing, always just out of reach. The diary's influence was insidious, seeping into my mind and pulling me into a psychological battle I wasn't prepared for. It was like the walls were closing in on me, my grip on reality slipping away bit by bit. I started doubting everything and everyone, afraid that I was losing my mind just as Eliza had. As I delved deeper into the diary, I began to understand that the darkness Eliza and I both experienced was more than just a psychological phenomenon. Eliza's detailed accounts pointed to something much more sinister, an entity that Jack the Ripper had been worshipping, a dark force that influenced his horrific deeds. This realization hit me like a freight train. The hallucinations, the whispers, the malevolent presence, it all made sense now. I was facing the same dark entity that had driven Jack the Ripper to madness and murder. The final confrontation with the entity came one stormy night. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows as I pored over Eliza's diary, desperate to find something, anything that could help me. I'd been piecing together the ritual from the fragmented notes and cryptic hints scattered throughout the pages. Eliza had hinted at ancient incantations and symbols of power, remnants of a forgotten law meant to combat dark forces. As I prepared for the ritual, I could feel the entity's presence growing stronger, its malevolent energy pressing down on me like a physical weight. I gathered the items mentioned in the diary, a piece of chalk, some candles, and a small vial of salt. With trembling hands, I drew the symbols on the floor, arranging the candles in a precise pattern and sprinkling the salt in a protective circle. When everything was ready, I took a deep breath and began chanting the incantations, my voice echoing in the silent room. The air grew thick and cold, and shadows danced wildly on the walls. The entity materialized before me, a dark, writhing mass of malevolence. It lashed out at me, trying to break my concentration, but I held firm, pouring every ounce of my willpower into the ritual. The room was filled with a blinding light as I reached the climax of the incantation. The entity shrieked in rage and pain, its form twisting and contorting as it was forced back. The light grew even more intense, searing my eyes, but I kept chanting, driven by a desperate need to banish this evil once and for all. With a final earth-shaking roar, the entity was gone, leaving behind a profound silence that felt almost surreal. The entity was banished, but I was left shattered. The trauma of the battle lingered, a dark cloud over my thoughts, but I knew I was free from its influence. Determined to ensure that no one else would ever have to face this horror, I took Eliza's diary and compiled her notes, along with my own experiences. I published the diary, revealing the true story of Jack the Ripper and the dark force that had controlled him. Despite the lingering fear, there was a sense of closure, and a flicker of hope. The cycle of terror had been broken, and the darkness that had gripped London for so long was finally dispelled. As I looked out over the city, I couldn't help but feel that, in some small way, I had made a difference. The truth was out, and the haunting echoes of Jack the Ripper were no more.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these tales, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a scare. Have a story to share? Let us know in the comments or DM us on X Twitter at NightMystery369. Stay spooky.